Sabry? Yeah, please go ahead. Maybe introduce yourself, and Jørn, and that would be nice. Thanks.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to the day 2 of our course. Hope you're enjoying the course up to now, and we'll see how to install software, certain packages for R and Python and some Quota packages, and later on GPUs. So I work at the University of Oslo and also in the Enris user support team. Jørn, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. My name is Jørn. I work at the University of Tromsø. Part of my time for Enris and for the support here, and then the rest of my time for the European research cluster called UNI.
Yes, so Jørn and me are going to do this today in the first part, and then Jørgen will join later on. So this document we have been using since yesterday. Now you see that it's a clean document, as Dania mentioned. If you want to see what was there yesterday, then it's been archived thanks to our hard work from our colleagues. You can go and see it here. This document is sort of 50% of the course. So this is where actually the interaction happens, and we get to answer specific questions that you have. So we highly recommend that you use this, and it's very important that we know that you are not using it because you don't know how to edit. So in order for us to get an idea, especially for whether you know how to interact with this document for this page, I will recommend that everybody to take a minute and try to type in answer to this icebreaker question. So the icebreaker question is it's asking what kind of software that you are planning to use on the HPC system. This is also for us to know a general idea about how the audience is today, and also for us to know that you know how to interact with the document. As an exercise, I will add something myself. I'll click this pencil button to edit, and I'll go further down where I should type something. So I see that people are already start typing. I will just for the sake of to demonstrate, I'll type R. Right. So then it's aligned in this way with these bullet points. And if you want to see how it looks, you could click this I button. And if I had more real estate in my screen, it will also show a side-by-side view. Let's see whether I can have that as well. No, because I have a narrow screen, I can't see it. But then you can have a side-by-side view as well. What you type, you can see. So while so I'll give it another 30 seconds just for you to have an idea on it about it. And I also recommend that even if you're not planning to edit it, log in once and edit once, and open the edit mode at least once, so the document will be refreshed.
Because otherwise it could be that you don't see the changes that are happening, and then for you it looks like just no one is writing to it.
Yes.
So either refresh or go to the edit button, press the edit button, and you see live what's happening. Like you see now on Sabry's screen.
Yeah. Just click edit once and close it at least. Yes. So today's plan is that in the morning session, for the first 45 minutes before the first break, me and Jørn will talk about some software installation practices that we can use on our clusters, Saga from Betsy. This is focused on certain commonly used software that are used by users, for example, Python and R. And later on, we'll also talk about Quota, when we want to install packages from the Quota environment or the Quota package manager in that sense. Before I dive into Jørn, before we start this, I would like to show you what's already there in our cluster. The reason is that if something is already there, it's better that you use it as it is. If something is like if you have a Python package that you can already load, then you should try to use it. You should try to install it. That let's say if you don't find a specific version and you are only you need that. Like if you see that there's some package that might be commonly useful, it's better that you ask us to install it centrally. But if it is not that useful for everybody else, general users, but it's only for your use, maybe some test, it's better that you install it yourself. So this page, I'm on this tab. I came here using this link here. So I click that and I came here and this is where I landed, but I'm going to start one level up to show you what's already there. Let me just log in.
So is this now the course page, or in which document are you now? On which web page?
So that is a good question. Yeah, the reason is that I forgot to mention something. So today's course is not a tutorial in that sense. Today's the first course, at least for the first session, is at least me and Jørn will try to navigate our documentation. So this is the documentation that we have written for our clusters, for users to know how to do things in the expected way. This is how we sort of expect people to. There might be other ways to do achieve the same thing, but this is sort of in the cluster environment, in a shared environment with the cluster file system, etc., etc. We like if you do it this way. So this is sort of navigating our documentation. So this is there already on the Sigma 2 pages, the entries pages, and the link is already there. Or you could come to our documentation page and navigate to this software where the software installation is there explained. So I'm going to close that. So I will just show you how the software is set up as a reminder. So if you missed our first the introduction to HPC lesson, I'm going to log in as myself. I will log into Saga sigma2.no. Yes, so I'm on Saga now. So Jørn, when we log into Saga, not everything is at our disposal. If I put that in way, like software is installed, but not everything is loaded. Can you think of why it is like not everything is available when you why people need to do this module load and module list? Do you have any idea about that one?
Yeah, but I use Python quite often, and I realized that like if you just write Python or Python 3, then you might get like 3.8 or 3.10 now, and so there can be multiple versions, and some like maybe I need for some workflows 3.10, but some other users might need 3.8 or 3.6 even. And like, how do you make them like available at the same time? That's
a very good and very clear answer. Thank you. So that is the reason. So some people might need 3.86 if it is Python. But in our documentation, the page that I opened, we use netcdf as an example. So let's use Python because now the Python has like a solid example. So let's see what Python version is there already on our system. Let's say Python 2 is there and a Python 3 is there. So let's say somebody wants this newer version, Python 3.9. Then you can load it. So before loading anything, we could check with module list. to see what's already there. So when you load the module, type the module list command, it's very important that your module is, the environment is very clean. We have seen some people, for example, if you know what this file is, .bashrc, for example, people include this module loads in this file, which means every time they log in, some modules are loaded. I'll show you
this module. So this module list, what is shown? So all the available modules.
So this shows not available modules, the modules at disposal at this point. So
So
we don't
currently
have
loaded ones. Okay.
Currently loaded one, yes. And then I'm going to load.
And even if I use mod like Python 3.96, for example, now all the time, I should not put it in my bashrc.
No, the reason is, let's say if you are in your job, you want something else, then you forget to clean your environment. Your job will fail, saying there's a conflict. I can show you that in a moment why we shouldn't do that. And it is hard for us to debug. When you send a ticket, we don't go log into your account and check. So if you send us a ticket saying that we loaded this, I loaded this module and it gives an error, maybe it's because of a default module you use in a bashrc that we don't know about. So it becomes a predicament for us sort of to see whether we should log into your account and check that sort of thing. So it's better that you clean the environment clean and load whatever you want explicitly.
So you would say that it's always better to be explicit about these modules and not like implicitly load them somewhere, like so explicitly load them in the script where you actually where you run also your commands.
Yes, correct. That's what I'm saying. And also when you load this, it will also load a lot of dependencies. Module list. I'm going to use the module list now. As you can see, everything that is needed, for example, the compiler, correct compiler is loaded alongside, and also some hidden modules. So these hidden modules, yeah, it means that you are not supposed to use them all by themselves, but it's loaded as part of a package. So you will not see this in the module avail if you do that. And OpenSSL and Python is loaded. And if you remember, Jørn, when I typed Python before Python version, what did I return? So 3.68 Python 3. And
did you before you load a new? No, you already did. Okay. Can you show us like where the Python binary or the executable now is?
Yes. So let's see. So that I should have now I'll check the version first. So when I check the version, so if you see the module has already set that default Python is 3. So if you didn't load that, if you go here, you might get confused that Python 2 was available. So even if Python 3, the module load also set those sort of things, the default things. I will ask which Python is loading. So it's loading from this place. So for the specific question that you mentioned that I forgot to show earlier, that what Python is there before I load the module, we can unload it. Module purge. Module purge, or the same thing is module restore without anything afterwards. So I'll use the module purge to be consistent. Purge.
So what does module purge do?
It cleans up what you have loaded, and then the module list should be clean. And if I ask which Python 3, it's the installed Python, the system-wide installed Python. So this is how you. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, just because you now wrote module purge, so you said it should unload all of the modules, but there's still one left. Is this is this a problem?
No. So that's a good point observation actually. So there are some certain the standard modules that you should not unload that needed for the general functionality. So it's okay to have this the standard environment loaded. Then what I'm going to show you is a remedy, for example, a remedy for people trying to have their bashrc filled in. one reason, Jørn, they have, I'm going to clear the screen a little bit. The people sort of have this set up all the time when they load, is that they want many things loaded at the same time for pipelines, for example. So for the example, I'm going to ask module avail BAM. So this is a bioinformatics software tool. And then let's say something more SAM. So you want two of these. So to make the screen a little bit more like easier to compare, I'm going to be more specific here. 1.14 of SAM tools. Oh, that didn't written anything. You know why? Yeah. So when you be more specific, you have to be exactly correct. So I misspelled it. I forgot S. And then I'm going to ask 14 is, I'm going to check that what is the compiler is used, 11.20. Is there a 11.20 BAM file? Yes, there's one as well. That is 2.5. I'm going to ask BAM. So this, let's see whether it's case sensitive. BAM tool, tools 2.5. So there are many, but out of this many, I'm going to load this one and this one. While I'm loading that, can you tell me why I made that specific selection?
So yeah, the whole nomenclature is like, first it's always the name of the module. So in this case, or like the name of the program, basically in this case, BAM tools, and then the slash is followed by the version numbers. In this case, 2.5. No, I missed which one. So the SAM tools, for example, is 1.14, and then it's a dash, and then followed by the tool chain we used to build it. There's different ones you can see now. There's FOSS, GCC. GCC is the most common, then there's Intel and IC Ford. It's, for most people, it's not so important which ones you use, but it's important that if you load multiple modules, that they have the same tool chain as possible.
Yes.
So
very good answer. Yeah. So I'm going to load the compatible two modules, and I'm seeing a module list to see all of them are loaded. So I see that SAM tool is loaded and BAM tool is loaded. But then maybe this is something they do routinely. So every time they log in, they won't do it. So then what people do is they will just have it in the bash RC or some scripting, or have some shortcuts defined. But the easy build already provide a way for that. The command it's used is module save, and then you can give for example, SAM BAM, for example. So that is my combination. So when you do that, the module system takes whatever that's loaded in here, and it saves in a file called my home area. Okay, let's go to home first. CD ls. I think it's lmod. Yeah, and lmod. It creates a file like this, and it saves this information. So let's say if I log in again, let's say in another terminal. So I'm pretending that I'm logging in at another point, maybe tomorrow. I'm going to ssh saga.sigma2.no with my username. I log into Saga. I ended up in login 4. And that's also very good. So sometimes you will end up in login 2, and sometimes you will end up in login 4. It doesn't matter. It's a round robin thing. You depending on the load, if you will log into different, you will land on different login nodes. So I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to ask module save list. This will show me my SAM BAM. So what I'll do is I will restore the SAM BAM. Before doing that, I'm going to show you that module list. There's nothing else there. I'm going to do the module restore. So every time I use a hash, that means that I type. Yes.
No.
That's a mistake.
So if there's a hashtag, then it's not actually you. Like somebody writes it, but it's not executed. It's a comment.
Yes. So I'm sorry about that, because sometimes I type a command that I shouldn't execute, but I wanted to show something else. So I'm just going to block that command. That's what happened there. So the hash is not something. So if you don't type the exact spellings, then you will see errors like this.
And module is in general quite helpful with stuff like here, try module save list, and then you see it. So it often suggests already possible answers if something doesn't work like this.
Yes, so it's very important what printed afterwards to read what's there. So let me go back to other terminal. So I'm going to clear this before I give you the microphone for the next part. I'll show you one more thing. Dania, how are we on time now? Are we 50 minutes past or 10?
Like now it's 9:23. You have this time. But Sabry, I was wondering, you want participants to type along, or
no?
Okay.
Just watch, and because everything I type, they are in the command. You're welcome to type along, but expectation is I'm showing you how to navigate our the material. So in the question and answer section later on, we can ask questions, and the way we do that is it's better to use the HackMD if you have any questions here, and we could sort of change the question and answer section later. You're welcome to type along if you could, but what my expectation is that you will see how I navigate this.
Okay, thanks.
The idea of our whole session is that we show you, basically we do what is written in the documentation. So afterwards you can go read the documentation, there's more explanation than what we give now. And then you can try it out what's written there. But basically just to show you, and also to show which errors happen, because we mistype all the time. Type along if you want. You can also already try your own R if you want to see what R is, or Python or something.
So sometimes
now
go ahead.
Now you just showed us how to save a collection of modules if you use them more often. But what should I do now in a script if I want to use should I just load it with module restore, or should I write it explicitly again?
No, you could use the module restore. So now I'm going to give you the screen. If you can get ready to take the screen from me, I can show you one last module level command with, for example, blast here. Module load. So module load. Just to emphasize, let's say module purge. You could do when you load when you want to use another version. It's what I'm doing is I'm going through modules. So you could also use the module switch command here as mentioned, but I don't use the module switch command. It's confusing. So it's better to purge load. So whatever you want, you can clear it up and load. And if you want a collection, make it a collection as save list. Jørn, can you take the screen from me?
Yep. Okay. I hope everyone now has now Sabry did a short recapitulation of the module system, and I guess many of you have already used it to load software we installed. But sometimes there might be certain software which is not available, and often there's actually you can basically build it yourself. And in general, now for the whole session, if you have questions, just write it in the on the HackMD, and one of us will have a look, an eye on it, and sometimes we can bring it up immediately, and otherwise we'll answer it in the document. So you can install software yourself, and that's quite simple actually. And now assume I want a certain Julia. Julia is a similar programming language to Python. So let's see first what is loaded, what is actually available currently, because we don't want to install something which is already there. So let's see, we want to see what Julia. Okay, now I see there is a version 1.7.1, which is the newest one currently installed, but I know that I need the version 1.7.2. So this is just an example now, of course, but the module I want, or the version I want, or sometimes also the program itself is not available. So what can I do now? And we install the software with a software called EasyBuild, and you can use that yourself. And I will show you now. Okay, first we need, because currently it's not loaded, EasyBuild, we first have to load EasyBuild, and let's see first, EasyBuild. Okay, EasyBuild 4.0. Now I can load it. There's module load, and then I will copy that because I don't want to type that out. So now if I do module list, let's see. Okay, it's loaded. So now I have EasyBuild available, and all the EasyBuild commands start with EB for EasyBuild. So there's a ton of different commands for EasyBuild, but most important for now is, like, I want to search what software is actually, which software can I install with EasyBuild, and to do that we use a capital S or minus capital S. It's for search, and then I can look for Julia. Maybe I'm not sure if it makes a difference. Shouldn't. See, EasyBuild always takes a minute. Sabry, do you often install software in your own user account, or have you done it?
Yes, I do that. Like when we install system-wide software, I install it on a whole my area and check first. So I do it a lot. Yeah. Otherwise, for my own use, I don't do any research anymore. So I don't install software for my personal use. But before I install it centrally, I check it on my home page.
For me, it's similar. I also don't too much research. It's mostly for tickets that I have to install software sometimes, only for me myself. Okay, now I can see this is all the versions I could install, and we see already it's way more than there are already installed. And you can try that with like EasyBuild -S for all the programs you want, and you will see there's like a ton of software which is available. Sorry?
So the S means search, and is there a list of command that arguments that I can use? Search is one maybe.
Yeah, so for EasyBuild or for the EasyBuild search function. No? So what do you mean?
I mean, dash S means search, I guess. So you could also type dash search.
Oh yeah, you can try that. Cool, yeah. So and to recapitulate, you can repeat. You can find all these commands I now use also on the documentation. So in case, like in, let's say tomorrow or in a week or so, you don't remember, I will show you how to get to this. I forgot this in the start, but let's go through this again. So if you can either go through the course page, or you just open our documentation, and then here on the menu, you can scroll down a bit, or you can also just, of course, search for it. And then there is, no, I can't really show you, I have to move it a bit. Is under software, there's a point of installing software as a user. If I press there, then there's an overview page, and there's like different versions, like different options here for you to install. In this case, now we have the first one, installing software with EasyBuild. Okay, so you don't have to remember now all the things we do. Basically, everything is already is also already in the documentation. You see, and okay, now I use EasyBuild --search, and you got similar results, but it looks a bit different because the path is longer, which is not important in this case, because what we need to install is actually just this last part, so this last part here. So you don't have to specify the whole path. You only have to specify the file name of the recipe you want to install, or the program. So in this case, Julia version 1.71, which is this one, is already installed, but I need 1.72, so I will use this one. And the installation is then quite simple. It's actually just easy build, EB, and then I can write it, Julia. Just the name of the file, so 1.72, and then all this like toolchain stuff, which is not the nicest word. And before you do any install, it's always good to first do a trial or like a dry run, and that can be done with -dry1. Is it correct? Let's see. And now it will give us some output. So what it basically does, yeah. So we can now see it's actually here a relatively short output because Julia is software which has no dependencies in this case. So we see only this, like this one needs to be installed. You can see this that here. If it would already be installed, there would be an X here. I will show that in a minute as well. But now it seems to work, so we can just run it also without the Linux driver, and this shouldn't take too long. Maybe it's already cached. Just now with like easy build and then the file name of the installation recipe. So easy config is officially. Yeah.
Without, let's say, there's another way to install this is I go to Julia download site, download the binary, and compile it myself. So what is the advantage of using this method rather than doing everything by myself? Yeah,
that's a really good question. The advantage is, I mean, now it's all in the background is, first, as you already see, it's relatively easy. You basically just have to find out which version and if it's available, and then it's basically just one line of code you have to write, or one command after you load it, the easy build module. So the installation is quite simple, but it's not the only thing. We will see in a moment, it integrates itself quite nicely into the module system. So you can install, let's, for example, I sometimes use Julia 1.72, but sometimes I use, let's say in half a year, 1.8. But sometimes I might still want to use the old. So in this, if I do this like manually, I have to install them side by side, and then I have to be really careful which one I currently use. And if I want to use one of the modules, I have to also be careful that they're not shadowed so that I can't like use them when I just write Julia. If you like mess around with your path variable, if you know what this is. In this case, there's a module created. Actually, just now there was a module created, and I can just use it, this module load, as any software which is installed by us. So that makes it a lot simpler to use because it integrates like seamlessly into the module system you've been using already, probably or hopefully.
So while you are explaining, so the easy build system, it found where to get the binary in the internet. So it went out in the internet. It downloaded the file for you, and it did a checksum to verify the downloaded file is what the host is giving you, and it uncompressed it in a folder, and it loaded all the compilers and other things, additional libraries that is needed. And it compiled it for you, and it placed the binaries in a correct place, and it is also setting the path for you. So I see that it has done a lot of things for you. So, yeah.
So it's a lot simpler than compiling yourself, and basically all the modules you can find will work. If there's a problem, you can write us, but usually they just work out of the box. And that saves you a big ton of headache from like messing around with compiler flags and downloading and checking and in the end making it run, installing it. So the module system makes it quite simple. I mean, this is where the name comes from. It's supposed to be easy. Okay, so now it's installed and the module created. Let's see now if how we load it. So it's because now you can actually try. Julia is not found. So it's installed, but it's not loaded automatically. I can also check that this module list. That still the only is like the standard and the easy build module is loaded. So if I want to load it now, what do I have to write? Module avail Julia, and let's see. Then we see, okay, there's 1.71 that was already installed, but the module we actually just like installed is not available. Why is that the case? Sabry, can you help me?
So the easy build recorded where it was loaded, where it was installed, but you didn't inform easy build to look at that place in your home directory. So it is looking in the central place. Do you do a module source of your .local installation? Usually this would pick up in a moment, I think, when the easy build updates. But I see that local easy build.
So here in my home, I can also just like, because I'm now home, I can also, there's a folder called local. And yeah, easy build, and then the subfolders. Some modules. I can actually, maybe before I do that, just look into this. You see that there's a modules folder which has all bio and lang. This is the categories basically. We are just interested in this case in the all folder, and then you see there is 2 subfolders. One called Julia, one called Seaborn. This is the software I've installed as EasyBuild in my home directory. And to use it now, we can actually also have a look into Julia to see what's in there, and then we see, okay, there's the whatever 1.72 and something Lua file, and that's actually the module file we load this module node. So what we can do now is we inform the module system about the paths where our modules are installed by EasyBuild, and this like we do that with module use. And then I will copy this path now, but I will only copy it to the all because I want to have all the modules I installed be available. You can find all these commands in the document in our documentation. So, and would you? So and now we don't get an output. Let's see if it works. So yeah. So now you see there's not also only the cluster all, which is like the centrally installed software, but there's also another category here, which is my home. And here is a module for Julia 1.72. And if I now want to use that, then I do module load Julia. Oh, okay, I will copy that. And then and now if I write Julia minus version, I see, okay, there's actually a Julia available. And if I now start it, then I'd be in the interpreter and the REPL. Yeah. Okay. Sabry, what would you suggest? If you use that, if you install your own, would you put module use? So the command I used here. Would you put that in your bash RC or would you put it in the script? Or what should you do with that?
That you could have it in a bash RC, yes. But my impression was we already have the central bash RC sort of would look at this. But I'll take a note to see why it didn't.
Yeah, it's actually. Yeah. I'm also not sure. It's possible that your modules are automatically picked up if they're in this. If you just don't do nothing, it just install them with EasyBuild. It's possible that it's automatically picked up, but there might be a cache, so it takes a while. But if it doesn't show up, use module use.
Yes, if it does show up modulus, maybe if you log into a new shell, maybe it get refreshed. But fallback is that to use the module use. But in general, my expectation was you don't have to do it; it will just automatically pick up. But it didn't happen. But we found a solution.
Okay, so now we installed a completely new software ourselves, and we can use it with the module system, and it integrates quite neatly. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we have 8 minutes to the break, but I would think because to get some more time for the question and answer in the 8 minutes, I'm going to show you the R packages, so we will have a little more time at the end. Is that okay, or should we go for the break?
So what do you want to do the R part now? Yeah, we can do that. But I was just wanted to say one more thing. If you install a lot of software, it might fill up your quota for your home directory, which you can check this do search. Not the nicest now, but you see here, this is my quota for my home, and I have a 20 gigabyte quota, and I use 8. But I only have 100,000 files, and I use already 54,000. So if you run into that problem, or if you use a lot of software which other people in your same group or your same project also use, you can also install all these, like all the software I now did into my home, you can also install that into your project. And in the documentation, it's described how to do that. It's quite simple. It's just like one more command you have to write. But then it's like you can share the software, and it doesn't like clutter up your home directory. Okay, that's all from me for now.
Okay, in that case, I think we showed a lot of things. So what we do is we'll go for a break now, 5 minutes early, and we come back from the break 5 minutes early as well. Is that okay, Dania?
Yes, thanks, Sabry. We can come back at 6 minutes to 10.
Yes. Okay, welcome back. So I'm still in the same sort of area of the documentation. Software installation. So we had a look at this software module scheme and install software. And Jørn showed us how to use EasyBuild. And next is like in addition to loading software, you might need additional packages to the software as well, like Python packages, R packages, and Quota packages. So next is Python packages, but I'm going to jump into R packages first, because the Python packages would sort of seamlessly integrate into the next part, which is the Quota. So R is a software. So I apologize in advance if you're not an R user, but you're here. But this is specifically for the R users who want to use this R statistical package or programming manager, or even we call it the software environment, to load things, to perform analysis. One thing before that, if I go there, so we were here, and let me go back one more step, software installation, just to show you where I am now. Under install software by user, installing software with EasyBuild was done, and now I'm going to use install with install R packages. So R is a sort of like it comes with a big set of packages. They are hosted in a place called CRAN. Not all R packages are installed with when you load the modules. Some of them you have to install it yourself. So let me copy this and have it on my other screen and open my terminal. There's my Saga. So I'm already on Saga. Okay, I'm going to clear everything on my screen and see whether any modules are already loaded. Loaded, yes, module purged to clean everything. module is to make sure there's nothing else and to get some more real estate module clear. So I use the module purge, module list, and module purge. Clear the screen. So the R packages, first thing you need to do is to select your correct R module and load it. So in the documentation, it recommends certain things, how to find these things. So we use the module avail command before that, in the earlier session to show you. But here, if you use module avail, in this case, because R is like a single character and it's there in many places, it lists you so many things. So in this case, you can use another module sort of parameter called spider, which would sort of give a more refined search, but it will find less things, but more specific things. So if you know what you're looking for, it's better to use it. If you're using module avail, don't use R, but use something like, more specific. I want R for something. So you have to be more specific. So
if you do the slash, what does it mean?
This I'm completing as much as I could here, Jørn. So if I could go more, I would be more refined. You see, I could go even more. So it searches everything that's up to this point. And it's like searching like this.
But you see that like even like Mumer, which just ends in an R, is also recognized. So it's Spider is a bit more clever.
Spider is more clever. So this is like a search like this. So it finds everything that has this string inside that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask what projects am I part of. Then I'm going to go to the cluster projects, NN 9989, my the post page. Okay. The reason I'm going to do my installation here is so I don't use my hit my quota limit on my home directory. Here I have my project, and there are some folders. I have my folder here with my name. If you don't have it, you can create one. And at the moment, some test environments are there. So before I install, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a place to place my things. So this is the place I'm going to place my R packages. I'm going to explicitly create a folder called R, and I'm going to do those things here. So when you do these things, it's easier for you to locate. If you don't like it, you can delete it. It's easier to remove, easier to clean, easier to get support. So if you install something in a project area, and if you send us a ticket, there's an issue with this, it's easier for us to it's more polite to access this project location than your home area, for example, and it will not be counted against your home quota. So for those reasons, I'm going to use this location. Then I'm going to use the, let's say, R version, what module avail R 4. What was there? Some 4.0 version. I'm going to use like I'm not very specific about what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this one, module load. Sorry. Let me increase the screen a little bit. I used up a lot of space here. Module load. So this, when you load this module, you have your R there. There are a lot of dependencies alongside this. So if you list it, it will list you all the things that you need alongside R in order to perform your analysis and to install packages, etc. So here I'm going to install my first. Before that, let's see the package I want to install. So again, apologies for the non-R users, but I'm going to use this is on my R prompt. I'm going to go to the R prompt, and all this happens in the login node, Jørn, not on the compute node. So the installation is on the login node, and then after that I'll show you how to use that on the job. Then I'm going to ask something like lib path. So this is R specific to see whether packages are loading. The packages are loading from our central installation. And I'm going to load the library call library that I found like a random library that is not available on Abacus. So I'm going to see there's no package. So we need to get it. So how do you get it? The first thing you should do is to set your path. So when you install this will not try to install on the central path or somewhere in your home directory. It will specifically install in this folder that I created. In order to do that, you could.
Why should I not just install in the path which is actually now loaded, so the cluster software library?
Several things. One thing, you will not have permission to do this, so you should do that. And people use other people who use the packages. Maybe they want a different version, or it might conflict with dependencies. And we never, for reproducibility purposes, we never modify the central version. So I'm going to modify this path. So there's a better way to do this in the script. I'll show you why that is better. But setting this like this for the installation is enough. But it's very important to make sure that you will see this path as the number 1 when you do the installation. Then, as described in the material, then you could do the install packages with some additional install package and then your package name, which was Abacus. And I'm going to say ask R to install it from the Bergen the CRAN repo. So it will not give me another pop-up message asking, where should I download it from. So while this is installing, one observation that you might see, this might be slower than on your Mac or a Windows computer. The reason is R packages are provided as pre-compiled for R and Mac, but not all R packages are available as pre-compiled versions for the exact version of Unix we are using on the cluster. So for the Unix, you need to download it, uncompress it, compile it, and optimize it compile in an optimized way. So if you see that it takes a little bit more longer than your computer, your personal computer, it means that there are more things happening on the cluster than what happens on your laptop. So when I say pre-compile, it just download it and use it. Here, it download it and there's a compilation step. And then it's loaded. So then I will use the same command library focus, and it's loaded. So I apologies that I typed the wrong word here. So I should have typed Abacus before just to assure you before that it's not loaded. Maybe I can compensate it by showing you path where it is loading from. Packages Abacus live path dot package Abacus. So it's make sure that it's loading from this place. But on my other so I quit now. So if I quit, I will save the workspace, and you see the R package, the Abacus is already there, but I'm going to load R again. And I'm going to use the same command, and it will say no, it will not found. The reason is the lib path, because it's not looking. So every time you use it, you have to set that path, which is a good and a bad, little bit of, let's check the lib paths are. It says the error message here, it says it's not loaded. I try to check the path. So I have to load it first. Then check the path. Then it will show you that it's there. So it's very important to specify the path. So you are very specific. So you can have multiple versions of R packages installed in many places, but in your job script, you'll be very specific. So I'll show you how that is useful in the job script, although it's a little cumbersome to sort of specify all that. You could also set something called rlib that as explained, but I'm not going to show that because it's better that you explicitly do as mentioned here. So in your R, when you submit a R job to the cluster, what you do is you package everything in a script. So here what it says in the script is to use the default R script that is loaded after the module is loaded. And then set the path as I did here, but there's extra thing here. Instead of just doing this, people who use R, they know that they're setting it like this means that make sure that everything else already set is not unset. But this is a better way to do what I did. So use this in a lob script, or you could also use the way I used it. It will also work on our system, but it might not be universally correct. Then you use the library. Here I use the abacus. Here it's ggplot, and you do your analysis. So this R script is called like this inside the job script. So you have job script. You have your yesterday. You remember that Ule Vidar and Radovan was talking about the memory, and you have to find out the task and time, how many cores you need, everything else. And I'm using the module restore. This is equivalent to module purge, module restore without anything. And I use the module I used, and then I execute the R script, and I specify the output file, and I specify the error output file. Here, I don't set the path. Here, I could have set the path, but I'm not doing that. I'm setting the path here for the libraries. So that is sort of the recommended way to do that. The reason that I'm not setting the path here is R script is the place where you call the library, so you know what version you are supposed to, and it's something attached to the script, not the job. And then there are more details about, for example, bioconductor. So there are packages. If you load instead of R, if you load R bioconductor, for example, people who know bioconductor, it's a collection of R-related biomedical packages. So there are more packages available when you do R bioconductor instead of R. So this bundle, loading this bundle means you will have to install less things. So that installation, and so the take-home message or the things I wanted to emphasize is that you have to load a clean environment, restore it and load what you want, and make sure that you specify where things are installed. And then it's better to use a place where your home directory is not, your home quota is not counted against. And in the job, try to use the path not in a general sense. If you know what R_lib is, for example, don't, without using it explicitly, attach this information inside the script and use it in the lab. In the job script. Let me check whether there's anything in the HackMD.
No, it's currently not.
Not okay.
But if it was a bit fast and you want to see the commands again, go to the documentation. It's currently linked in the HackMD, or you can always find it by just like basically googling, searching for R on our documentation page or on the software and the user install.
Yes. So these are the general. There are many other ways to do this. The same thing, you can achieve the same thing with different ways of setting paths. But I would say this is a more robust way. So please comment on the HackMD if you know other ways and if you have other suggestions or maybe to improve these things. In the same way that we did that, we could also okay. Let me load it from the menu itself so people are more clear on that. That's R. So you could also go for install Python packages that you would need, R packages, and then Python here. It's more or less the principles are the same, that you install it somewhere that easier to remove, easier to clean, and you know where it is and what exactly is installed. For this purpose here, I'm going to use something called virtual environment, which you would expand, I guess, later on with Conda. So when you can incorporate non-Python packages as well. Here the principle is the same. you have to load your module, but make sure, okay, let me do that and move this so I can see what I'm doing.
So we have 20 minutes left for the session.
Yes, I will finish this very soon. So the same thing, you load the, okay, maybe I'll show it because of the time. I don't want to rush it. I'll show it very slowly. So you would load the module, you would activate a Python environment. The alternative is that you would, let's say if you load this module, you could do, let's say some package, you could do, okay, this is also a good example that I didn't clean my environment before I load it. Module purge, module load. And usually the, not the usually, the easier way would be pip install user NumPy, for example, NumPy specific version 14.0.0. So this is the sort of like you would do in your laptop or your personal computer. But when you do this, it will install it in your home directory, and it might be difficult for you to have multiple versions of NumPy, for example. So that is why in the documentation that we have this method of installing this recommendation. So here we activate an environment, and inside that environment we do the installations. And whenever we want to use that, we activate it. So the activation of the jobs, that environment is done inside the job script, not like the R, but inside the job script. R, I did that in the R script. And
you should do this in your project directory. Otherwise, if you do this in your home, this venv or my new Python env will be placed in your home. So do that in your project. So otherwise, you fill up your home again. That's true. So I was trying to demonstrate this, but I think not to rush this. What we do is we go to your session here, and we'll come back to that, because the same thing in this environment, Python environment, you could also achieve with Conda in a more, I think, more universal way, in the sense that you could also incorporate other packages. So yeah, take my screen and go to your lesson, and then we can come back.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Sabry, I can give you some time after Espen session. That will be shortened to 15 minutes. I was informed for the same. Yeah, more discussion on this topic. Thanks. Let's go ahead. Okay. Yeah, so we have a lot of users which use Python, and so we want R, so we wanted to show both. Most people who use Python probably know pip, and nowadays also many use Conda. And Conda is a bit this anaconda, mini Conda, and Conda, and there are slight differences between them, but in the end it doesn't really matter which they are. Yeah. Conda is a package manager, basically. The command B will use is always called Conda, independent if you load anaconda, mini Conda. So I will follow basically what is written here, and this installing software as a user, and then installing Python packages. And then if you scroll down, it's first a bit about virtual environments, which we just did, and then there's anaconda, mini Conda, and Conda. Yeah. And you have to start that with making Conda available, because currently now I'm in Saga, and you can always see the commands I typed before here on the top. This Conda, let's see, Conda is not found. So we first have to make Conda available by loading the module. And let's just see for Conda. Okay, and then we see, okay, there's anaconda and mini Conda. I always use mini Conda 3. Anaconda, or like 3 or 2 is the Python version, so 2 is not recommended any longer.
And then you can either use anacondas or miniconda. I would just go for miniconda. So audio load. And then, okay, now conda is available. Yeah, and now we have to do some stuff, which, so conda is now a command. If I type it, I see like, oh, there's a lot of like subcommands I can use. Create and list and so on and so on. But first we have to do some setup if you haven't done it before. It's all linked in the documentation, so you don't have to now type along, and I will make it a bit shorter. But we want to add conda, like the channel. Oh, sorry, this was not very fast. We want to add a conda channel, in this case, conda forge, and also bioconda, which is basically where we look for software. So we basically add the config and add a channel. This is a repository for software. And in this case, I already had it in the background, so forgot to clear this page. Okay, now conda knows where to look for software. You only have to do this once. You don't have to do it every time. And now we want to install some software. This could be now Python, but it can also be a lot of other software nowadays. For example, a lot of bioinformatics software is available through conda or bioconda. Bioconda is just a repository to look for. So you just have to add it once. It uses the same system as conda, but it is conda. It's just like additional software which can be found there. And we can install software, or like we can create an environment with conda create. This is a virtual environment which has its own Python version and all the packages you want to have. Okay, so, and if you use it on your computer at home, it's probably that you use minus name, minus name, and then some name, like for example, bio. But I would recommend on our clusters is instead of name, use parse, and then give it an explicit parse. And so to cluster projects, it's the autocomplete, and then I will install in here this is one of the projects I'm in, and this is my subfolder, and then I can use, for example, here what you call conda and then bio, or whatever name you want to give it. I would really recommend to always create conda environments with a path variable, or like with a path instead of a name, and then specifying something on the cluster projects. Because otherwise, in no time, your home is full, and then you get a disk. Sabry, do you remember how this called? Disk quota exceeds error message, and that's then you can't do much until you have cleaned deleted a lot of files, because conda creates a lot of files, and you will run out of your quota quite quickly. Okay, and after specifying a path, I can also specify already software I need. For example, say I want pandas and I want seaborn. For example, I will. Is it not? Oh, sorry. Is it not minus parse?
Is it P? Minus.
I can also. There should also be a version with minus, but I thought it's parse. Oh, yeah, minus P works. I have to check it up. So by minus P, and then you specify the path where you want to install your conda environment. And now it will take a, well, conda can be a bit slow with setting up sometimes, especially if you install more and more software into it. So that's one of the reasons why we recommend to have smaller environments, each for like one project. So if you have multiple projects or multiple parts of a project, make a different conda environment. So basically, you specify different conda folders, like folders.
So Jørn, the dash P is shorthand for prefix, not path. So that was.
Sorry,
yeah.
Prefix. Yeah. Then it could also be that this is currently is wrong in one or two places in there.
you know. Yeah, there's a question currently. What these, while we're waiting, we can discuss other questions. Here, there's conda config channels, or sometimes if you install, you can also write -c and then, for example, conda forge. This is basically just the shorthand for an internet address where conda will look for available software. So conda forge is nowadays basically the default, it's not called default, where you can find almost all Python packages and a lot of other software. But in the end, it will expand it by conda to I forgot what comes before, but it's basically just like a sub page on the internet where like all the software is linked and listed. So you can also like go through it by just like looking for conda forge or bioconda. Yeah, and now you see in the background now it tells me all the packages it wants to install, and also you can see the version usually somewhere here. For example, C4 base would be 0.11.2, and if I now press Y, it will download all of them and install all of them. Yeah, I don't want to do this now because this will take a while. Yeah, so I will abort this. Otherwise, it will now just like download it, install all of that, and it takes maybe a few minutes. And afterwards, I now hope you can activate yours. Once it's done, it will show you also how to activate it, and then you can activate it with specifying the path, master projects. Okay. And yeah, if you have not done this before, you have to write conda init once. So conda init and then bash, and I hope that this still works. No.
So Jørn, if you open the package, there's the reason for this is we are after loading the module, you did not source the conda the profile, so it's there in the, if you do that step, this will be okay with
yeah, it's actually possible. There's I'm not 100% sure if I actually have a conda environment. Yeah, there's currently no conda environment there, so I played around in the beginning and then forgot to not the greatest, but I can maybe try a short one. But afterwards, you can just like start your conda environment with conda activate and then the path to the environment, and then you can install more software if you want to. But yeah, so now I did want conda here, and if I don't do this.
So Jørn, so the reason is, do you have the documentation, the page open?
Yeah.
So in that page, you have the job script. In that job script, you will have a sourcing source script. If you further down, there's a sourcing. Yeah, that one. Further down, source ed. The reason is if this message comes inside the job script, you can't solve the way that you're going to solve now. On the terminal, you can solve it. But it's very important that, yeah, if you source that, then there's the prompt and your, what do you call this, shell, your environment will be properly set. Yes.
Yeah. So in a job script, you have to look in the documentation that's written. You have to source this conda.sh file, and it's under this variable. So if I do this now. Yeah, now it works. So now I have this like conda environment loaded, and if I check out which Python I now have, yeah, it's the mini conda Python, and I now if you can install software by creating a conda environment, or you can also now install it while being in the. So currently it's loaded.
if you like do it like interactively, you see it's here which conda variant you currently have loaded. And then I can install, for example, bioinformatics software, also like Clustal Omega, Clustal O. And if I do this, then it will now show what we'll do and load all this in the background.
Yeah. Jørn, you have 3 more minutes. I would like to keep Jørgen's session intact.
No. That's basically all I wanted to show here. This is like how you could now install more software into it. One tip I would do is if you install multiple software, do it in one go. So instead of conda install and then one and then another conda install, write all of them like class 2.0 and then pandas and then c1 and something, all of them like that, because then it's much quicker, and sometimes otherwise it takes forever, or it can actually has problems finding compatible versions, and it's usually easier if you do it in one go. Okay, have a look at the documentation and use the -p or prefix to install it in your project folder directory if you use conda. And if you're a bioinformatician, have a look at conda, because you can install a lot of software using that. If it's not available via EasyBuild, it's often in conda, and then you don't have to install it yourself by hand and compiling or downloading. Okay, that's all from me.
Yeah, thanks, Sabry and Jørn. I think we can take a long discussion around 12 during the Q&A session about software installation. Some of the questions we can discuss further. Maybe
it's also if you have questions like in the future, either send us a ticket if you don't like support to request to our email, or come to our monthly Q&A sessions. You can also ask questions for installations or for help with installations there.
Yeah, thanks. We will have a minute to clear our brain for the next session. And Jørgen, you can take over this screen.